Hello, my name is Stephan Elliott. I am the co-writer and director of Easy Virtue, coming to a cinema near you. This was murder. I mean, it's pretty easy to write four-letter words. They kind of come out of me pretty simply. I mean, I like fruity language, and this is the first time I was not allowed to do that. So we had a crack at it, and then we had another crack at it, and then we had another crack at it, and they kept saying, you can do better, and you can better, and literally it was 3-4 years on paper trying to get it up to a level. But every time we had another crack at trying to make it that little bit better, it got a little bit better.
In tropical climes there are certain times of day when all the citizens retire to take their clothes off and perspire. It's one of those rules that the greatest fools obey, because the sun is far too sultry and one must avoid its ultraviolet ray.
Hitchcock had originally shot it in when he was a kid. He was just a baby. So that was interesting too, because we had the Master, which is Coward, and we had the Master of Suspense, and it was like it was one of their first works. It was one of Hitchcock's first works. So it was interesting to actually look at them again and realise that they weren't really in their prime yet. Like I was looking at Hitchcock and realised he wasn't Hitchcock yet, he was just a baby. So part of my visual style was to decide how Hitchcock would have done it in his prime, when he was 45 years old instead of being 21 years old when he did it. How would Hitchcock have reimagined it if he got a second chance? So that became a big visual tool for me. We took a lot of liberties. I mean, Coward was just a kid when he wrote it, and was also stuck in a single room. It was very long, it was 3 acts, and it was stuck in a lounge room. So initially he said, we're going to open this up a bit. And the real key was wanting to open it, to bring it to a younger audience. I mean, the music in this film is just wild. I mean, we went a little bit nuts. And there's also more special effects than you'll ever see in a period movie. I mean, those merchant ivory films, you don't see special effects. So part of me, I said, I really, as Coward did when he wrote the original, he wrote it for a young audience. He was only 24 and he was writing it for 20-year-olds. So I very much said to myself, right, we've got to open this up and make it fresh, make it young. And then on top of that is we had to start doing some major readaptation and taking some real gambles. But it was actually Coward himself who said that he never wanted his work to become museum pieces. This could be summarised, and it was, by Colin Firth, who said spectacularly, this is Meet the Very Posh Parents. It's the classic mother-in-law gag. I mean, that's what happens. The mother-in-law gag is the greatest gag since cave time, I should imagine. Since the cavemen brought their mother, their girlfriends home, they had to meet the mother. And, you know, if that's not a licence for stupidity, I don't know what is. Coward's definitely the hook, but it was very difficult getting this cast together, and it involved quite a bit of stalking of Colin, and extra stalking of Kristin, who they just felt like they'd done it before, and it was real. And I said, no, but I'm doing it. This is going to be my take on it. So it was a long, slow haul, a lot of chocolates and champagne, and living outside Kristin's house. And Colin said no, I think about 20 times, but we just wouldn't take no for an answer. So once we had, like, which accounts to British royalty, and then I said, this is a story of a young, brash, fresh American who arrives in this stagnant old English world. And I then thought, right, for the American, let's do something fresh, let's do something unusual. And we met a lot of actresses, and they'd kind of done it, and I just said, I want to find someone really, really fresh. And then I just met Jessica on a whim, and something happened. I just looked at her and thought, nah, this girl's got a lot of talent. Nobody has let her do it yet. Nobody's let her out of the box. And she went with it. I mean, you know, and I do think she steals the movie. I don't know, there's a little part of me that likes taking gambles. I mean, every film I've ever done is a gamble. And there was that moment post Priscilla where I was pretty much offered everything, and it was very flattering, but they were all pretty safe. And, you know, perfect example is, if I had tried to make Priscilla in Hollywood, it would have turned into a film called To Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar, which is just a hilarious film for all the wrong reasons. I mean, it's just dreadful. But I kind of know that I had to, in order to, I had to, if I'm going to make the kind of films I want to make, which is a little dangerous and a little bit difficult. I have to do it outside of the box. So no, I've never taken the American offer yet, and it might be now. I'm thinking about it for the first time in my life. Well, let's give it a go. They've been asking me now for 14 years to put Priscilla on stage. I've said no. I've constantly said no. I just wanted to move on from it. I mean, I love her dearly, but she's in our ball and chain, unfortunately. I can't get past it. No matter what I do, all I ever hear is it'll never be Priscilla, it's not Priscilla, it's not Priscilla. The weight of that after a decade got very, very difficult. I couldn't get out from under her shadow. And then this ski accident I had was the one that talked me into saying yes, we'll do it. So I got dragged into the stage version, kicking and screaming. Dragged, pardon the pun. And the outcome's fantastic. I forgot what that music does to people, and it was also a mobility for me, because in the film I couldn't afford a lot of tracks. We could only did what we could afford, and this was an opportunity to have as much money as you wanted to do exactly what you wanted to do. So in fact, it was like doing a big budget version of a small film, but this time I was just doing it on stage. But it was a second chance. So there's a lot of gags, a lot of material, a lot of ideas that I had that I could never afford to do in the film that I've been able to afford to do on stage. I became a ski bum and then skied off a cliff in the south of France and proceeded to break my back in half and my pelvis and my legs. So kind of doped the eyeballs in a hospital bed. I decided I think I have to go back to work, and the producer of the piece, Barnaby Thompson, brought it to me, and I said, I'm so the wrong guy for this job. And he said, that's exactly why we're bringing it to you. Any film I've ever done, I usually start with a musical concept before I go. I sometimes write to the music. When I'm actually writing, I have a very strong musical idea in my head. And this one was no different. And we did some Coward classics, we did some Porter classics, and then, I don't know, then some other bits and pieces started. And it wasn't only until halfway through the second reel that a 1922 barbershop version of The Car Wash kicks in. And there's nothing more wonderful than seeing an audience. Actually, people start laughing because it's so silly. But it's timely, it feels good. I mean, we did all the music as if it was done 1924. We recorded it 1924, but there's a couple of contemporary songs have crept in. Famously, Sex Bomb, Tom Jones' Sex Bomb gets a 1922 makeover. We actually put I did no underscore in the film. I decided not to do score per se, which is just basically sad music for the sad parts and happy music. We actually created a band. Kind of like the Kit Kat Club was in my head from Cabaret. We put a band together of these really talented boys and girls, told them they had to think 1922, and we just jammed the entire film. We'd just sit there and we'd play it, and we'd play tracks underneath it. And my composer is Marius de Vries, who did most famously Moulin Rouge. So Marius had kind of been in the ballpark before, and something organic happened, and it was kind of cool to sit in a room and jam the score out.
Hong Kong, they strike a gong and fire off a noonday gun to reprimand each inmate who's in late. In the mangrove swamps by the python romps, there is peace from 12 to 2. Even caribous lie around and snooze, for there's nothing else to do. In Bengal, to move at all is seldom if ever done. But mad dogs and Englishmen go out in the midday, 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 out in the midday sun.
I mean, who out there loves their mother-in-law? Anyone?